Hi everyone, it's Matt with Mineral Stains. Today we're going to go over a comprehensive masonry course, what paints to use, what is the difference, and I'm going to go over some examples, so stay tuned. Let's start with the first example, elastomeric paint. There's a lot of marketing, there's a lot of hype behind the paint. It has its benefits when used on metal or different wood components, but in regards to masonry, what you want to think about is you have a big piece of rubber that is expandable and also a little bit thicker. So in this equation, I'm just showing you an example of a silicone based with a little bit of elastomeric paint. So imagine you put this over your brick, over stucco, ephes, anything that's masonry and requires porosity, meaning breathability. You're going to have a lot less of a water vapor transmission coming through when dealing with these types of coatings because they're going to last longer, but then they're also putting like a rubber band over your brick surface, for example. The next example is a latex or acrylic. In this sequence, I've used this quite a bit of times. You literally have a paint on one side, and then you have the paint that's broken down the brick and mortar, literally pulling the brick and mortar with it. So this building was probably repainted at least 15, 20 times in the last 60 to 80 years. So again, you're putting a plastic film over a surface that requires adequate porosity, breathability. So each time using both paints, you're essentially breaking down that brick or mortar, you're accelerating the age. So if the actual brick and mortar has a tendency to withstand 100, 120 years, think about it this way. Every time you put something that will get you about 12 perms per 24 hours, meaning that's the breathability test, it will accelerate the aging process using these types of products. Now let's jump into our products. So we use potassium silicate. Here's our Eco-Prim. If you noticed, it resembles very closely to a quartz crystal. It's going to give you a little bit of a milky look, but take a look at this. Once it dries, it literally hardens, again, like a quartz crystal. Then when we add in our fillers and colorants, here's the actual finished product. So two things. You have to have a dry masonry surface wall, meaning you cannot have excessive moisture or additional water damage, if you will, because our products have to dry, have to cure, and within 7 days, essentially, it becomes part of your brick. So then when you compare these, once again, to a latex or acrylic finish, you will notice that one is almost like a permanent structure to your building, and then one is kind of like putting a film over, and it's a temporary solution. So when we talk about the colors, we always think about aesthetically, how can I update this building, whether it's a residential or commercial. But the other facet that comes into play is what is the breathability factor going to be like on the product that I use. Because if you repaint your building every 3 to 5 years, every time you're just accelerating that aging process within the surface. Because there's going to be a little bit of a moisture that's always stuck within the cavity, and what you're looking for is a product that's able to get you 6 times more breathability than a traditional latex paint. So now let's talk about UV protection. We only use inorganic mineral pigments. I did a test swatch for you guys just to give you an illustration. These are highly concentrated colorants that we add in with our base white titanium dioxide. So essentially, the water glass ages very, very slowly. When you combine this with the colorant, that's what's going to get you the 20 years plus that we talk about, the maintenance free and the longevity of the products that we sell to you. Now, when you factor in a latex or acrylic coating, even if you use these colorants with this finish, the protection film on these paints, which is the resin, will probably get you on average 3 to 5 years at best. If you're in Florida like we are, it will probably get you maybe 3 years. If you use an enamel finish that's more expensive, you might get maybe up to 6, 7, 8 years depending on the manufacturer. So when you factor in latex or acrylic versus water glass, that's what's going to give it a longevity period. And this applies even to hardy boards when we use our sole silicate. So when you talk about bang for buck, a natural look, a maintenance-free product, you're not going to beat anything outside of water glass. And that even includes like a Romabio Limewash, because a Limewash needs a sealer over the actual finish. Otherwise, the colorants are going to fade within 7 to 8 years. So if you factor in, again, the potassium silicate water glass and you combine it with these colorants, that's what's going to get you that durability factor, because we get a lot of questions and sometimes clients are very confused how it's able to withstand or last 20 plus years. Should you have any questions, please reach out to us, info@mineralstains.com.